All right, we're moving on to operations with Sig Figs. This will be rule number 6 we'll begin with, and we'll also continue on to rule number 7 following your page handed out in class of Review Sig Fig operations. All right, for rule number 6, addition or subtraction this goes for. Um, Sounds pretty confusing when reading just the statement on your sheet, but it's not as nearly as hard as it sounds. What we worry about with our significant figure answer with addition and subtraction is place value. Just think place value is what matters. We're going to take as an example 3 numbers we're going to add up. This would always also work if there was subtraction involved. But the 3 numbers given on your sheet, if we would just add them up in our calculator or by hand, we would get the answer 326.035. This number in blue is not the significant figure answer. That is just what you would see or what would appear on your calculator screen. So we need to figure out what we do with that answer to round it to the proper number of sig figs. The first thing we got to do when we add or subtract is, number 1, we're going to identify the rightmost sig fig in every number. So using the rules from the prior lesson of what counts as sig figs, this 5 is the rightmost one in the first number. This 2 is the rightmost sig fig in the second number, and this 5 is the rightmost sig fig in the third number. After identifying that, we now have to do with the most important part, and that's worry about place value. This is where the wording on the sheet might sound confusing. Now that we've identified the rightmost, we look over those 3, and of the 3 we've identified in this situation, our answer could only go as far as the leftmost place value of the 3 we identified. So, remember our place values from elementary school. This 5 is in the hundredths place. This 2 is in the tenths place. And this 5 is in the thousandth, I can't talk today, thousandths place. Of those 3 places, the 10th place in this number is the leftmost. Therefore, our final answer can only go to the 10th place. If it goes beyond, we must round to that place for the correct answer. So we're going to, for the time being, use just basic rounding, although later there is a more specific rounding rule which we may cover. That's from our identification, our answer will be 326.0. We have to round off the 3 and the 5 because they are place values after this one. So one more time, just to be clear, the first step is identifying the rightmost in each number involved in the addition and or subtraction. Once identified, we must look at which number, what place value of which number is the leftmost of all of those. That's as far as we're allowed to take our answer to. Okay, rule number 7 on your sheets deals with what we do when we multiply and or divide with sig figs. In the example on the sheet, I have multiplication. However, remember this also goes for division as well. Alright, as opposed to rule number 6 for add and subtract, we have a different rule for multiplying divide of figuring out the sig figs on our number. And multiplying divide, as far as significant figures go, only care about the total number of sig figs in each one of the values being multiplied or divided by. So for example, the number 1 thing we have to do, we're multiplying 3 numbers in this example, and the first step is just simply using rules 1 to 5 from the other day. We will identify the total number of sig figs in each number. I'm just going to write them below right now. So 3.54 has 3 sig figs, all non-zero, so they count. 4.8 has 2 sig figs, again all non-zero, so both count. And the third number, this 0 does not count. That comes before the decimal place because it is not trapped between two that do. So therefore, just the 5, 4, 2, and 1 count. This one has 4. Now that's step 1. Step 2 is after you have identified the total number of sig figs in each of the numbers you're going to multiply or divide up here, you now identify the smallest one of all of them. So out of the 3, the 2, and the 4, obviously the 2 is the smallest one. What that means is our answer is not allowed to have more than 2 significant values. Therefore, we must round to 2 significant values only. So up here in blue is if you typed all 3 of these numbers into your calculator might take it out to this many decimal points. And we need to take that number and round it to just 2 significant ones. So that's a pretty easy round. We just go 9.2. So just a quick review again. First, we identify the total number of sig figs individually in each number. And then we identify the lowest amount of all of them, and our final answer could have no more significant figures than the smallest one in the operations involved with multiply and divide. So try to remember when add and subtract, what matters is the place value, and with multiply and divide, what matters is the total number of sig figs.